Hey my Shuga Bears, welcome back to my channel, Bougie AF. It's your host, Nicole. It's where I say stay bougie on them. It's me feeding you feminism for the soul. It's my soul food offering. It's where I apply pressure to issues by being critical and logical. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get to the commentary where I can guarantee you I will be doing too much because that's just me. And like Sheree said, who's gonna check me, boo? Welcome Black, are you tuned into the Bougie AF channel? This is your girl Nicole, where I say stay bougie on them, and I'm serving you feminism for the soul. You can check me out on Instagram at BougieAF_ish. Also on Twitter at I'm_BougieAF. I'm sorry, _bougie. You can check me out on Twitter at I'm_bougie_AF, where I go on the web and I hide all of my secret thoughts and opinions on the World Wide Web. So listen, we're going to hurry up and get into it. So y'all know I be down on the people's clubhouse where it's ratchet as hell, ghetto as hell. Sometimes it's really hard to find a really great conversation because there's just so much debauchery. There's so much just bullshit that's that be happening. But more or less, I like to stay in the politics rooms and listen to that type of conversation. Even though I may even sit in a room with a whole bunch of like white Republican conservatives, sometimes I can just listen to, it's just a better conversation to listen to because people are actually talking to each other and not screaming on each other or threatening to pull up or dox each other and all types of weird ass shit that a lot of times happen in, you know, some of our spaces, which are really way too violent and really way too just more encompassing than it should be. When I say that, like, it shouldn't be that deep. People shouldn't be doxing people. People should not be like trying to find out people's like personal history and personal health information and all this other stuff. Because again, it's an audio app, right? Way too much is going on in some of these spaces. So like, I just don't even understand I don't even understand, like, even if you heard something about me in these motherfucking spaces, I gotta give you the space and opportunity to get close to me to even ask me a motherfucking thing. So, you know, you can just go ahead and believe whatever the fuck you heard because you're not questioning me about shit. Straight up. Straight up. Oh, you heard I was a hoe? Was it your man? Like, there's no questioning me about shit. I did what to who? I'm bullying who? I'm making fun of people who has disabilities. What? What are you talking about? Like, I'm that type of asshole. So but I'm like that in real life. Like, you can't, like, I don't know you to be questioning me, like, coming around and acting like I owe you an explanation about anything that I'm doing. You grown like I'm grown, right? And the way my religion and who I believe in is set up, I'm going to have to answer to him. And one thing I know for sure, one thing for certain, two things for sure, you ain't got a hell of heaven to put me in, so you ain't asking me a motherfucking thing. How about that? Yeah, straight like that. So I don't really get into much of that because I can go there. Like, I can talk that shit like nobody else's business. I promise you I can. So with that being said, I'm not gonna give you a lot of room to question me about shit, and I don't even understand how I get that deep on this audio app. But yeah, people be sitting around like, I heard this, you full of shit. Okay. Y'all, I can't be an asshole like that. I'm not gonna lie to you. But listen, I want to hurry up and get into one of the conversations that I did listen to in one of the political rooms that I was in. And it was yesterday, and it was a whole lot of conversation. I think it was for like 2 days. It was a whole lot of conversation about like, what is a black conservative? And I want to raise my hand and say, I'm most definitely a black conservative, and I'm very proud of that. With that being said, a little bit about me. My mom is from the South. She's from West Virginia. My family is from the South, straight out of them peoples, Alabama and Mississippi. My family has migrated to Ohio. Where else are we? We're in Gary, Indiana. Ohio, Indiana, Detroit, where else? And this is important because it's important, and I'll get to why I am telling you guys this. Where else is my family living at right now? We still got families in Alabama, and I still got family in West Virginia. All right, anywhere else? No. Okay, with that being said, I think a lot of times what happens is that, you know, there's a lot of people when it comes to Black Americans and like how we feel about politics, we sometimes get put in this box of being like a monolith in terms of like, we've seen what Joe Biden said when he sat down with the unknowledgeable Charlemagne the God and told that man, you know, you're not Black if you're not voting essentially for him, right? The Democratic Party. right? So for since the civil rights movement, which a lot of people don't know, like most Black Americans were conservative before the civil rights movement, right? So that's a thing, right? It's always been a thing. With that being said, since the civil rights movement and since the Democrats were most definitely a part of passing a lot of legislation that was very much that benefited Black Americans, and so since then we've traditionally just been voting with the Democrats because we've always seen them as some type of ally. But also, they most definitely, you can't front, have most definitely supported a lot of the social programs that have helped Black Americans, right? Not to the extent that we need, and they can do much more in terms, both sides of the government can do much more, but more or less the things that the Democratic Party has supported has most definitely been in the favor of Black Americans and minorities in general. So traditionally, we've always voted that way since the Civil Rights Movement. With that being said, a lot of people, were no longer conservatives because, the talking about equal rights and stuff like that, they were talking what we needed them to talk, right? In terms of like what we needed from them. And I as cavalier as it may sound, it is extremely important that as Black Americans that we get away from the emotionalism and we get to talking about like, what are you doing for me lately, right? So with that being said, my views in terms of me feeling like I'm a Black conservative sometimes confuses a lot of people that want to just put me in this box of just, you think this way because Democrats are because you're a Democrat, and it's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. I don't think it helps the Black community just to take a to take a I don't think it helps the Black community to be so loyal to one party, right? I think we should have some most definitely, be fluid with our support and the things that we talk about. Like if you're talking if you the Republican Party, let's just say they're saying something that sounds good to us, that we're gonna benefit from, then that's where we go. Now the Democrats, you saying something that's good for us, and and we can roll with it, then that's where we go. I don't believe in that party loyalty. So with that being said, you're not gonna see me in chat rooms acting or sounding as if though I have bought into either one of these parties like that, right? I believe in putting my foot and keeping my foot on their neck and keeping them honest and calling out bullshit when I hear or come across bullshit, right? Because we should be tackling issues and policies and trying to get what we need out of these people, period, point blank. So no, I'm not going to be dying on any type of sword because of party loyalty. I know traditionally and historically who's done what and whatever, and that's fine. But sitting in 2022, we know we need them to do more. And I don't think acting like a pansy where someone tells us that we're going to automatically vote for them is something that we should be partaking in. Let's get back to the conservatism. So in this room, we had a lot going on in terms of the conversation being about ADOS, the conversation being about reparations, the conversation being about conservatism, and what does that look for Black Americans. Now, I have pulled up the definition of conservatism because this is most definitely something that a lot of people continue to keep talking about in terms of feeling as if though when you hear that someone says that they're conservative, most people group those type of people with the Republican Party, right? And being a conservative Democrat is a thing. Please take your time and Google it and you could read upon it. Like, it really has always been a thing. So, I feel like as if though when I tell you guys that I'm a conservative, I know for a fact that it has more to do with like more or less like how I approach and look at things in terms of it not being my views not kind of sometimes aligning with the most popular and the most mainstream views within the Black community. I'll take a more harsher sometimes, I don't want to say harsher, but I'll take a more, I guess it is harsher. I'll take a more harsher view sometimes, or I'll, necessarily just I'll be going against the grain. And so with that being said, a lot of times what people will feel like, oh, well, something's wrong. She's off, she's a coon, she's this and this and that. Because I just necessarily won't agree across the board with fuck shit and things that people are trying to associate with Blackness that I'm just saying, no, that's just you and yours on how you act, right? But me and mine don't behave like that, right? And so with that being said, I have a different way of viewing certain things. One of those things I can give you as an example as like, I can, say that my views are different I remember I told you guys that story, and maybe I didn't. I'm not quite sure. But remember I told you the story. Like one day I got on Clubhouse, and there was a room saying "in slavery in California," and they were talking about the prison system. And I was like, slavery? Oh, we need to end this. I'm going out there now. Like that's literally what I thought. I mean, I was like, no, we got to end the slavery. But they literally were just talking about, niggas being sent to prison for shit that they did. Now, has there always been some type of like over sentencing that's happening? Most definitely, I'm against that, right? I most definitely, these were abolitionists, and it's important that we say that because these are the people who want to get away, to really want to they really want to get rid of like the prison system and our judicial system in terms of like how we deal with that. They want to do away with that and like I guess do it over in terms because they believe that because of all the racism that's happened in this country, it has led to over sentencing. It has led to things like the 94 crime bill. It's led to things like, people getting kickbacks because of the privatizations of prisons, which is kind of incentivized, sending people to jail, locking them up in quotas and all that stuff, which is something I totally agree needs to be looked at because there is too many incidences where people are wrongfully convicted and stuff like that. So most definitely, and there has been a lot of times where, you're talking about black and white violence or, black and white people, doing the same type of crimes and black people disproportionately being sentenced longer. That is most definitely a thing. And that's something I agree needs to be looked into. Now, what I am not going to agree with is the fact that I'm going to call people who have been rightfully convicted, and we know for sure, and if they've been sentenced, I'm not going to call that slavery. I'm not going to do that. That is really dumb. But I know that's because of people's understanding of the 13th Amendment and their limited understanding about like language and how that is used in terms of like it's language and people trying to just ultimately associate prison with slavery and the fact that out of slavery came the creation of the police in terms of overseers and police overseers in terms of in terms of slave catchers, right? That's essentially in America how police were formed out of that, right? Boom. I totally get and understand how people came to understanding the creation of police officers. And that goes without saying, right? With that being said, that does not make that a new or unique thing. And what I mean by that, if you have paid attention to history, and even if you've just paid attention to freaking movies in terms of like slavery has always been a thing throughout the world, right? Overseers have always been a thing in terms of slavery. We've seen it on TV, like we've seen it in movies, like it's always been a thing. With that being said, even if you want to go back and think about, what's his name? Robin Hood and, that story of that. These things are actually really important. Think about Robin Hood and him stealing from the poor and the king sending his guards and his soldiers out to go capture Robin Hood, right? He's causing me distress. Go capture him. Like, so that concept of like policing your communities or policing a kingdom or, the people has always existed, right? And I know that's really hard for a lot of people to kind of put into focus on like what I'm trying to say. Like that framework of what policing is and the overseer and capturing people, like that's always been a part of society, right? With that being said, yes, police was created from slavery, but the whole concept of it it's not a unique it's not a unique response. It's always been a thing. And that's very hard for some black people to try to understand because of what has happened in this country and us always wanting to sit into the victimhood of what our experience is. And we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to complain about. We have a lot to stand on in terms of the disproportionate treatment towards black Americans. Like we had that. And I will always give us that. But what I won't do is be unrealistic and just not, just be just be extreme in trying to paint everything as part of that, right? A white person commits a crime, and if they're found guilty, they are going to end up in the same prisons and get that same treatment, right? So I'm not quite sure like what people want in terms of like in terms of punishing people for crimes that they've committed, especially if we know that they've rightfully committed. What I'm finding is that people are taking the 13th Amendment, taking the creation of police, and making it seem as if though this is such a unique response and it's only a response because I'm black, and that's just not the truth, right? That's not the truth, right? No, there's a lot that has going on in the judicial system that needs to be addressed, and I'm for that, but I'm not for trying to paint a picture as if though motherfuckers don't deserve to be in jail with a lot of years behind it, right? I'm not for that, especially if you are problematic within your community, and you're trying to label it as part of being some type of being part of our blackness. I'm not here for that. So one of the views that I do take is that I don't agree with people in their stances on that 13th Amendment, and it's saying that, if you commit a crime and you are, and this is how you have to think about it. If you commit a crime and you are mandated to the state, you are enslaved, and you can be forced to do forced labor and stuff like that, because that's always been the case. A lot of times people even were talking about like the forced labor that's happening in prison. People just like to associate it with the 94 crime bill. No, 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 babies. You have to really actually go back. We've always had chain gangs. I don't know if you know, they also, like, prisoners was also used in the past to build our railroads and all types of stuff, right? So it's always been a thing. Like, even if, I think I forgot which movie it was. Was it Crybaby or the movie Elvis was in? But there's always been the depiction of forced labor or labor happening in our prisons, right? Now, what I think happened is because of the 94 crime bill, and because it became so lucrative to people, because to use the prison population. I think people just thought it was like something new, and so again, they see the uniqueness in it, or find that that's unique. This is a response that's this is something that's happening because it's Black Americans and you're putting us in prison, so this is really what's affecting us. This is all targeting us, and it's sort of like, no, that's not, no. Forced labor in prison has always been a thing, even if you go back to the Greeks, or even if you go back to the fact, people, it's just always been a thing. And not even to mention, even though I'm being cheeky, not even to mention, like, so when a person in, I think some countries are really, like, really harsh, like a person in like Malaysia who commits a crime and they go to prison. I'm sorry, that we can even use Russia. Like, someone in Russia, they have labor camps, like, for prison. They have labor camps in prison. And they don't have, like, a humongous black population, right? So majority of their labor camps would be filled with white people, right? So I'm always perplexed on, is that slavery? Right? And so that's where it becomes like, okay, you niggas really be putting 20 on 10. And again, I'm quite aware of our history. I'm quite aware of what we need to hold these people accountable for. But, baby, I think we're just going too far in terms of like really trying to find the racism and the uniqueness and the response to things that we do, that sometimes we try to make it more, we try to see more than what it really is. And that's just, a historical view of like how history has played out for generations and years, that has always existed. Now, if you're not aware of that historical context to like really kind of look at the world that way, because for a lot of people, history starts when Christopher Columbus got lost and stole some people's land. Like, that's when a lot of people historical references start. And so what ends up happening, you end up hearing people have these conversations that aren't historical at all in terms of like what they're referencing, but it's really short history. Like, it's really just American history that they can actually refer to and be able to put in perspective. And so, for me, I just be sitting in the audience like, you do know this is always I be having fun in the audience, That's just me. I be having fun with it. But yeah, so back to the, what's the 13th Amendment. So I wanted to cover that. So let me give you other examples of like how I know in terms of like me being a black conservative where I differ from. So when it comes to like the 13th Amendment, that whole prison slavery thing, like that's most definitely me not going with a more mainstream view within my community of saying y'all niggas is tripping, right? A lot of people that most definitely part of, will label me something different. Oh, she's so conservative, she's so harsh, she's so hard, and blah, 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 blah. Again, that's a different view that I take outside of the popular view, right? All right, so what else is another view that I take outside of the popular, like mainstream view? I think even when you hear my commentary on like Young Thug and Rico, and you're like, "Hey Rico, Rico for you, a Rico for you." Hey Fannie Willis, telling them people in Atlanta, Georgia, I see you, girl. I see you, girl. You doing the damn thing out there. You going after Trump real hard. Listen, Fannie for president. We out here. I know. So those views are not necessarily the more common shared views because I'm essentially, especially being Black American, essentially cheering on something that for some people is about tearing the Black man out of the homes and all this other stuff, and trying to be too hard on the Black man, and society's already hard on him. How are you cheering on a system that is, holding the Black man down, even though the Black man's in your community being a whole bunch of problematic terror and the cancer within your community, right? Even though he's all of that, you were supposed to place that on the Black burner in terms of, we're talking about people being killed. We're talking about drugs that actually are destroying the community, right? We're talking about all those negative things. For somehow, some way, people are willing to overlook all of that if we're going to, overlook all of that to have conversation about white supremacy and the man having his foot on the Black man's neck, right? All of that is being willing to be overlooked, right? So with that being said, me having views that support the police or support someone like a Fannie Willis and the DA in Georgia in terms of RICO and going after Young Thug and other individuals that are causing a lot of harm, again, not a popular view, not a trending view, not a popular view within my community. So I am I'm an outlier in that way, and so I'm most definitely conservative, right, in my view of how I look at that. Another example of where my conservative views come up in play. Where else? Like even in my personal life, in terms of like how I approach, how I live my life, and the things I feel like over the years I've partaken in and I haven't partaken in, or things I haven't partaken in. I've never been like a promiscuous girl, and this is no shade. But I'm very conservative in that type of way. I've always upheld myself in terms of like how I want to behave, and and all the other stuff. I can be a little posh. I can be extremely posh. I can be extremely I'm not gonna want to. I hate even using certain words because I mean it's just me, like, right. So I love me. So I hate using certain words that I think are negative. That give me a negative that make people look at me negatively. But yeah, I'm really reserved. That's what I'll say. I can be extremely reserved. I can be really reserved. So most definitely I can be conservative in that type of way. I think I was like a young girl and realized like I never wanted to be that girl like just shaking her ass all over the place and loose with it, right? Like I was always aware of like that's not how a woman behaves and stuff like that. So I'm very much into like, women behaving a certain way and having a certain type of class and all this other stuff. Like I really have always been into that, right? With that being said, though, with that being said, yeah, I do buy into that. But I'll cut up too. Like, I ain't even gonna front on y'all. I'll cut up, and as you can see, I can talk a whole bunch of shit. But at the same time, like, that if you push me, that's what you're gonna get. But I most definitely have been conservative in that type of way. I'm not a very, like, sexually, like, all over the place. Like, I'm not someone who's, like, randomly going home with niggas. Like that's just never been my thing. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But I never bought into like sexual liberation in that type of way. But only because I think it's because I was always more friends with men than I was with females. So I was always quite aware that a man will tell you, girl, we grown, let's do what grown folks do. But at the same time, I've always seen a nigga play a bitch on like how much she give it up and how much she out here fucking. And I've seen niggas disrespect women in a way, when they're trying to fuck, it's all good. You know, we doing our grown business thing. But the minute, you know, you piss them off, or the minute they done with you, oh, that's why you was sucking my dick. Like I've always been aware that they will flip it on you, right? That same shit that they praise, that they will flip it on you. And I'm talking about as a little girl, that I've always been aware of it. So when I tell you I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. I didn't have an awakening when I became older of like self-discovery, of empowerment and all that other shit. Like, I've always been this way. Who are you talking to like that? Like, I've always been this way. This ain't new. And that's why, like, when I be on Facebook, I be sharing shit from 7-10 years ago, because it's like I'm consistently me. So I'm not quite sure on what's supposed to happen where I'm supposed to be like this really different person or go back to being a certain way. Not traumatized in that type of way, because again, the consistency of like who I've been, have always been, is there. Right, so there's nothing to like kind of return to, so which is kind of weird when people try to imply like something is wrong, or somebody's hurt over or you know, like it's just weird, because it's like, no, I literally have always been like this. I'm not quite sure. Maybe, you know, so, you know what I think happens in life, sometimes people come around you for a brief second, and they start coming to their own wrong conclusions because of that brief second that they were around you. They feel like as if though they can have a larger opinion about you that is larger than the space that they took up in your actual life and being around you. And it's sort of like, you ain't even been around me all like that to even have these type of opinions, right? And that's why in real fucking life, and just like on Clubhouse, ain't a nigga questioning me about nothing. Ain't no stranger nigga questioning me about nothing. And even if you've been around me for like a year or two, I think even that's I'm an adult, so it's not like we're in high school and around each other every day. It's not like we're on the phone every night or talking till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and we're doing everything together. Those type of relationships aren't happening like that anymore, because we're grown, right? So you don't know me to say that you know how I am and how I look at things a lot of time, or how I deal with different types of people. So I think it's really weird when people make assumptions based off of, like I said, a small slither of a view they've gotten into your life, right? Because even if you're around me for a year or two, I have not shown you everything about me. I've not. There's people who were just recently around me that I'm no longer in association with. You never even came to my house. Right? Like, you never came to my house. Like, you've never seen me outside of like music and drinking and partying to really having a view of me, right? So like I said, you know, people just really just try to make a lot of different types of assumptions. What else is personally in my personal life, again, why I consider myself more conservative? Like, even if I had to think about like the dynamics within my family, I remember, and we're over this now because my nephews are grown. Like, even my approach in terms of like times like how I dealt with my nephews and like raising them and helping out with them, it was always a little different than other people in my family, right? Who were more looser, more, you know, with the mainstream shit. And I'm the more, no, don't do that. Don't behave like that. I don't go to school. Like, I was more stringent in that type of way. Most definitely because that comes from me being like a more conservative ass person, more reserved. You know what I mean? So, like I said, that's my views. That's how I feel about my conservatism. I don't place it into a party. I just like to talk about issues. And I like to talk about policies. And stuff like that. And again, I just really truly believe for me, it's about the fact that I just don't go with the popular view on a lot of different things, and I have a different way to look at things. Now, back to a lot of times when people are questioning Black conservatives, a lot of times one of the things that they do is they talk about the meaning of conservatism. Hold on one second. They talk about the fact of the matter, the meaning of conservatism, as you can see here, it says, commitment to traditional values and ideas with oppositions to change or innovation, proponents of theological conservatism. Okay, so that's a noun. There's also the second definition is holding of political views that favor free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. A party that expose conservatism. Now, the reason why I'm reading that to you, because a lot of times when I hear people say like, what are you trying to uphold, and you're trying to uphold white supremacy, that's not like, as you can see in that definition, it's not exclusive to trying to uphold white supremacy or things that, you know, we feel white people have done. Like, it doesn't say any of that, right? So whatever you socially traditionally believe in, and it could be because of like where your family, like what your family traditionally, how they carry themselves, what they believe in, right? Those could be your socially traditional ideas and views and how you approach life, right? And if you want to uphold that, and if you want to stay true to that, right, because that's what you find to be, what you love, then you can do that. It has nothing to necessarily do with you saying that I want to uphold white supremacy. That's motherfucker throwing their own shit on you, right? Like, nobody has ever said the conservative party is just basically saying that you're trying to uphold whiteness. And that's what a lot of people want it to be. That's what a lot of people try to put that box on it, to say that, you're just anti-black, and you share views that are anti-black. And it's like, no, tell me the views that I share that are anti-black. And that's where it gets tricky, because that's when people want to talk about the things in terms of like the RICO and the prison system and all those things that they want to loosely associate with blackness, that where I'm pushing back and saying, I don't know them niggas. I don't know no niggas like them niggas. I'm not sitting up here making you think that I'm going to sit up here and say I understand any of what these niggas are doing. So you're not going to sit up here and try to tell me, because I don't understand that fuck shit, that somehow, some way I'm trying to uphold white supremacy, even though that fuck shit is actually what is killing the community that I actually fucking love, because I'm actually on community code. Get the fuck out of here. Right? It goes there. And so sitting in that room and listening to people trying to understand or tell me, or even even trying to tell me or tell the room, like it wasn't just specifically me, but even though I did have like a little conversation with one of the girls who was on stage, and trying to say that there's just no way. I'm aware this is professor, and sometimes what you'll meet is that there are people who have agendas, and there are people who are smarter than a lot of people in the room, right? And with that being said, you'll have these people who have their mission on terms of like wanting to get their points across, wanting people to believe what they want to believe, that they are smart enough to know to omit certain conversation, or omit certain information, and push conversations in a certain direction, so that what they believe is what is essentially agreed upon, because they're just smarter, and they're just smart, and they just know what not to say, and they just know a lot of times their crowd won't know the difference. And I say that to say, like, so yesterday, we're talking about what a black conservative is. One of the things that came up was reparations. And one thing I learned was that you can't believe in reparations and believe in and be conservative. And I'm sitting there like, listen, I know these motherfuckers is like, I know they think that because they say they've read all these books and, they've studied and that they're a historian, that they really do. A lot of times people, like, again, depend on other people not knowing. So for me, I'm sitting there looking up, I looked up the definition. I pulled up conservatism, like I just, like you guys see on the screen. One of the other things I went to is that I went to pull up reparations and what that is, right? And that was really important because, again, this is a box that someone is trying to put me in. Now, if you know what 40 acres and a mule, which was a promise that was made from the United States government to freed black slaves when they got, that was made to slaves when they were freed. Oh, sorry, hold on one second. That was made to...
Next, President Biden signing 2 bipartisan bills into law addressing fraud in small business...
Actually, this video is actually about the PPP loans and stuff like that, but I'm going to hurry up and do this. So then I found out that I can't be conservative in reparations, because it'd be a reparationist, because if you believe in conservatism, which is a lot of people associate the bootstrap mentality of where people don't depend on the government. And again, going back to the definition, that's why, you see here part of the definition for conservatism is holding of political views that favor free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Is that a lot of people believe, you're supposed to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. America is the greatest country on earth. You can make anything fucking happen here. People go from rags to riches, and all of those things are true. But it's not depending on the government making it happen for you, because people feel like that's socialism, right? You're supposed to make it happen on your own. Blah 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 blah. So with that being said, when we're talking about reparations, there are some people who are trying to be sneaky and make it seem as though when you're asking for reparations that you're asking for some type of handout and some type of, you're begging, right? And it only gets associated with handouts and beggings because we're talking about black people, right? And so that's the negative connotation that reparations will have on it when you're talking about it being for black people. Now, reparations by itself, its word and its meaning and what it was created is not something that was just created for black people, right? So historically, there's been all types of different forms of reparations given out to all different types of people, right? We've had the Japanese Americans that got a form of reparations. We have the Jewish people that's gotten a form of reparations. But reparations is most definitely, pulling back up the definition, it's really important that we pay attention to words that are similar to the reparations, right? So we have here, let's read the definition. This is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. And that's extremely important, right? Because there's nothing about that definition in terms of what reparations is, in terms of what reparations is, that says anything about begging. Right. And it doesn't say anything about wanting handouts. It most definitely isn't. Right. But that's that negative connotation that is placed on it in terms of it because we're talking about black Americans receiving reparations. Right. Nobody thinks that the Jewish people begged for anything. Nobody thinks that the Japanese people who got reparations after those internment camps after World War II, that they were, not trying to pull themselves out by the bootstraps. Nobody associates any of that negative connotation with reparations when it comes to other groups of people. So reparations is not something that is just specific or just was created for black Americans, right? But when you're in a room with a dickhead and he is trying to cast cast a light over reparations. And this professor, he's really like, I like listening to him because, again, like I said, it's really important that I hear what people are talking about and how people are thinking. But at the same time, he'll bring up reparations, and also in the same way make it seem as if though black Americans just want to sit back and just collect reparations, and it's really not about them wanting to do for themselves or better themselves, right? So I've heard different types of times where he'll have different types of conversation, and I'm a funny ass nigga. Be consistent in and out in every room that you go to, right? And don't come across as if though you're pandering or that you're being manipulative with information, because you know more than most people in the room, right? So I find that he does that a lot, and so that's why I'm no longer I won't really kind of engage with him, because there's too many minions. There's too many like females that are like willing to create problems or try to act like we have problems because I may disagree with some nigga that they are weirdly following around, and I guess to be completely honest. All right, so I read the definition. So no, but look at the similar words to it: amends, restitution, redress, compensation, recompense, and repayment. These are all things that are cornerstones of our legal system in terms of like when someone has committed a wrong, right? There's all types of settlements. Like if you think about like Bruce Beach, that was just recently given back to the black family, which is the descendants of a family that they took land from because they were black, right? So the repair was to give it back to them, which happened in 2022. Things that our government does. We've also made some repair and gave back some reparations and some type of form of payments to Native Americans for what happened to them, right? But again, there's still not that negative connotation that they were begging or that they need to go pull themselves up by the bootstraps. But that's only a negative connotation when it, again, comes to black Americans. So when I hear somebody say that I can't be conservative and they're saying it because of that bootstrap thing and also believe in reparations, I'm like, houseway. That's the cornerstone of our judicial system. Part of it, talking about civil and stuff like that. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Our country has passed a lot of acts and policy and things, have done things to help out different groups of people, like the Homestead Act and stuff like that. I mean, we even have the bailout of the banks. We have the bailout of the audio industry. We have the bailout of the airlines. We have all of this bailout and all this money that's been given. But nobody's sat back and saying that just because you've received that money from the government and they've helped you out, that you can't be a conservative. But they'll have that rhetoric in terms of black Americans. As if though we should feel some sort of way about asking or trying to go for what's ours. Period, point blank. Poofs. So, like I said, I just wanted to bring that to you, bring some things and some ways to approach certain types of conversations that our people are having when they're trying to demonize Black Americans, saying we want the delineation in terms of like we are Black American. I don't want to be considered African American. I know who my people are here, Americans who've helped build this country. And when you count us and when you're talking about things that affect us, yeah, we are a whole different separate group, and we want that to be shown to the world. Period, poo. We've accomplished way too much in this country to water us down as somebody else or another group of people. No, that's just not like we're not for that at all. All right, so let's get into the actual story that I did want to go into. You know what? You know what? I'm gonna save that because I actually think I really took a lot of time. That was 40 minutes. So what I'll do is I'll do, you know me, I'll do a little Instagram scroll. I'm always down to talk a little shit. Y'all know that. I'm always down to talk a little shit. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right, so let's go down to the Instagram. Let's see what I got saved. I'm doing this story, like I'm doing a video where I'm going to be talking about the PP loans, and so I'm not going to go into that right now, but listen, baby. Biden is not playing. Biden is not playing. But I'm going to get into a little bit, two of these stories on the Instagram and see what's going on. I know I don't want to talk about that. This story is crazy. Woman kills two people in Atlanta and she don't look like she is bothered at all. She is not in distress. What else do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Some of these stories is too long and I could do actually entire videos on them. So we'll wait on that. What else is happening? So y'all just came back from Ohio visiting my family, so I haven't been like really online a lot, saving a lot of different things to talk about, but I know I got quite a few stuff here. Okay, so look at this story. So y'all know there's been this rush to a lot of women out here changing the shape of their bodies in terms of like the BBLs and accentuating different things like their breasts and then breast, you know, getting breast implants and stuff has always been a thing. But also, you know, what became a phenomenon over the last 10, 15 years is people, you know, plumping up their butts. And as you can see, we have a pretty girl. She's pretty. And she has altered her body, and what ended up happening is that, you know, in 2020, 19, 20, people were going to extremes of like letting people in their basements, in their home doctor office, and I'm not talking about actual doctors. People were actually just meeting people online and letting them put Fix-A-Flat and all types of just dangerous chemicals in their body to create this look, right? The look that a lot of men love, like a big butt. We remember, I like big butts, and I cannot lie, in the 90s, and you know, and how, you know, Black women have always historically been known for having like a shapely figure and stuff like that. With that being said, niggas just kicked it up a notch and went really wanted more than more than what God gave them. Is basically is what ended up happening here. So, but in the last couple years and so, with you know, stories like K Michelle and other women who have actually, you know, women who've actually lost their life, and K Michelle actually had a reality TV show where she helped women remove a lot of that Fix-A-Flat and all that stuff that people were putting in their bodies, because what a lot of women have found is that it was making them sick, right? Making them really sick. Some women have lost the ability to walk or sit on their behinds because, like, I've seen stories and seen pictures where, like, people's asses are rotten, right? People's asses are so damaged and rotten. There's been cases where it's been so extreme, like some doctors won't even like operate because, again, they'll be responsible, and it just be so severe and bad, right? Again, people have died behind this shit, like, and getting it done. People have been sentenced to jail from doing this to people. So we have this story, and I think this girl name is Chinese Kitty, and she has gotten her body done now. This is the second time I've seen her And again, what ends up happening within our community, and this is where it plays you in terms of like even talking about like the sexual liberation I just mentioned earlier. This is another instance where, trying to get the attention you want necessarily kind of backfires on you, and you don't get what you want. You get that other attention where you're kind of either made a fool or made fun of. And this is an example of like, being made fun of. So you have Chinese Kitty here. Like again, like I said, she's gotten her body done. So here we go. So the caption here is, one thing about Chinese Kitty, she gonna do a TikTok dance and ain't nothing y'all can do about it. This is on the people's neighborhood talk. Now I'm laughing. Hold on one second, make sure y'all can see that. I'm laughing because if you can see that neighborhood talk ain't, they spell ant. All right, because they're basically what everybody has been making fun of her about, because she's trying to, do her rapping thing and put herself out there, is the fact that everyone has noticed that, girl, this does not look good. And I'm sorry that, you bought into the hype and did this to yourself, but the shit is funny because you look like an ant. And so, that neighborhood talk says, one thing about Chinese Kitty, she gonna do a TikTok and ain't nothing y'all gonna do about it. And so the comments just ate her up. Y'all know my co-host in the comments is nothing nice. But there's another video where a girl did a TikTok and she stuffed her pants to look like Chinese Kitty and made fun of her. And Chinese Kitty came underneath there and was like, oh, people are such haters. And so it's like, no, girl, you played yourself. Like, you played yourself and you turned yourself into a fucking joke because you did this extreme crazy shit to your body. Right? So let's go ahead. This is, like I said, another example when people buy into the hype. You gotta let some of this shit pass by. It's just a phase, baby. I promise you. Regular bodies are back in. Kay Michelle got her regular body back. Like, it's like women are going back and realizing, like, I didn't need to do that. There's even a story, and you know what? I'm gonna go to it next. What's her name? Very pretty girl, Tommie Lee from Love and Hip Hop. I think she was Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Well, she talked about putting fillers and shit in her body, and very pretty girl never needed any of that. And when she had to come to the realization, I fucked up my face when I didn't have to. Like, what made me think that I needed to do this to myself, right? And it was so weird because what ended up happening, women were going out here trying to get these bodies for these men. And I even, my brother, he talks about just wanting a regular chick, regular natural hair, you know what I'm saying? Not makeup all the time. And, like just natural in a simple way. Like, if I had to think about like the beauty standards that I, historically, like when we were like the makeup and all the stuff that I really love, it's the 90s. I think the 90s, like, black women were so fly. Was so fly. The makeup was so beautiful. The tones that people use. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about like Whitney Houston and Preacher's Wife and how that was just so subtle. I mean, granted, she was a gorgeous woman, but yeah, I just remember Waiting to Exhale, Angela Bassett and Layla Rashawn, just gorgeous with just a little bit of lip gloss and just just was simple, and they were just still really gorgeous women, right? And women are still that gorgeous, and just with just a little bit, right? So if I think about the 90s was everything. Brownstone, them women were beautiful. Who else was out there that was just like SWV, beautiful black women that didn't overdo it, right? So, like I said, we've gotten so far from that, where women just stopped not looking just like regular women. I don't know why they bought into it. But anyway, so let's listen to what my co-host in the comments is saying. Someone said A Bug's Life. Someone said pretty girl. She's got a very pretty face. Now they're talking about her face because they're trying to say like the attention that you want for what you did, we're not going to give it to you. We're just going to tell you that your face is pretty because, clearly you suffering from something. You know what? I'm not doing this with y'all today. Peace. Ant, so shady. Someone wrote, Lord, that body ain't right. 3,014 likes. The ant shade got me on the floor. That shit is funny. Y'all wrong. Laugh out loud. I'm gonna keep my comments to myself. All I gotta say is love yourself, ladies. Basically, like, please love yourself. Cause like seeing those videos of those women who did that to their body and crying, or seeing how people literally have lost their life going to places like Mexico and getting these surgeries, or going to like DR was a big thing for a lot of people. Like, people are really going to the extremes. And just to even hear people say it doesn't even necessarily guarantee that you're going to get the attention that you want, or even the men that you would love to attract. So, just be careful and know the reason why you're doing what you're doing. Her hips are throwing me off, someone said. And what? That thing about to make her tip over. I really just want people, I just really want people thighs and legs to match. That's all. Exactly. Get your money back, someone said. Damn, who wrote the caption? Another wild build. This body. Like, and it's so funny because it's so funny. Like, ladies, just be careful. All right, so let's go to, I'm trying to find I saved it, what I'm going to do from now on. Okay. This is Tommie explaining, her changing her face. So I'm going to let her talk.
Dissolved. I'm just sick of it. I've not had surgery, but I always make getting ready to get everything dissolved. I'm just sick of it. I want my whole face back, and I don't know. I did it because I was bored. I did it because I was conditioned to feel like, oh, you need a little bit. Getting ready to get everything dissolved. I'm just, to this day, I can't believe I touched my cheeks. My cheeks is already just always been popping. All my makeup artists like, what the did you do? I can't believe it myself. It's done, it's did, and it's about to be undone. To this day, I can't believe I touched my cheeks. My cheeks is already just always been popping. All my makeup artists like, what the did you do? I just want my natural look back. I'm a natural girl. Titties, natural. Yes, I had like, I just want my natural look back. I'm a natural girl. Titties, natural.
Okay, so this is Tommie Lee from Love and Hip Hop, and actually we're gonna go to Karlie too. So this is like I said, it's like really a big thing a lot of women have bought into. And look, as you can see, Tommie is beautiful, right? Beautiful girl. But she's telling you, I conditioned to think that I needed to do more. I needed to fit into a certain aesthetic and look a certain way, right? And realizing that I didn't need all that. And she most definitely didn't need all of that. Like, even without makeup and all this stuff, this is a woman who didn't need all of that. She had a natural body that was on point. She has good breasts, and her ass, her shape is amazing, right? So, her just realizing, like, I was doing way too much. I was caught up into all of this bullshit and did some shit I shouldn't have did. So, just as another example of it. And I'm going to also go to Karlie Red. But so let's see here. Tommie Lee says she's ready to be all natural again as she gets her fillers dissolved. Like, listen. And that was weird because black women, we traditionally don't touch our faces and shit like that. One thing of an extreme case, and we have to bring it up, is Lil Kim. Right? We've never understood why Lil Kim did that to her face. We thought Lil Kim was beautiful. She was, a beautiful brown skinned girl, from the outside looking in, because how she used to rap. You thought she had the confidence, But what ends up happening is that you get in this industry, you're moving in certain social circles, and other women are looking a certain way, and you think that you have to look that same way too, right? Because Lil Kim is a trailblazer. Lil Kim is legendary. She literally got into the rap game and she switched it up with her style and all the sexual, her sexual prowess that she was able to infuse into her music, which was really different from the women like probably 10 years previous to her in terms of like the way Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, and those type of women were rapping. Lil Kim was the precursor to what became Nicki Minaj and everybody else after that, right? So with that being said, one of the things that we can most definitely, that changed with Lil Kim was like she kicked it up a notch in terms of like fashion and wearing designer clothes, and her and and Foxy Brown and stuff like that. Just really, because if you think about the 90s and you think about Queen Latifah and MC Lyte and them and Yo-Yo and them, they were still covering themselves. They still were talking about women empowerment. That was still a big thing, in respect, and you know what I mean, and just really trying to prove yourself as being as lyrically as good as the men and step into the mic in that type of way. So, but it really did change with Lil Kim. And I'm not saying it changed for the bad or anything. I'm just talking about like the difference of like what we've seen that was introduced into the music, into society, into the culture, into black culture, into black hip hop culture. And most definitely Lil Kim was one of those first people. And one of those first things that we realized was like Lil Kim just started fucking with her face. She started fucking with her face. And I'm not gonna pull up no pictures and stuff like that, but there is this YouTube channel where this doctor goes and he tells you about the different surgeries that he can tell people have. And listen, watching him talk about Lil Kim and the fact that he's like, at this point, like, he went through all the years, like, at this point, decades, like, of all the different surgeries, and he's just like mind blown that she did all of this stuff to her face, and he can just like he can tell, like, but yeah, it's extreme. Little Kim most definitely, like I said, is the first person to fuck up her face. I mean, I'm gonna call it what it is. She fucked up her face. And she didn't need to. Again, she was gorgeous. She was pretty. She had style. She had swag. She had it all. So she didn't need to do that. But when you buy into the hype, and I think Tommie is telling you that, I bought into that shit, and Lil Kim bought into it to the point where she made permanent changes. That got her looking like, Lil Kim from Beijing, and not Lil Kim from them people's Brooklyn. Like, for real. All right, so let's go ahead and see what the comment says. For all the, I thought you said this and that, just had this done 3 months ago, so don't start. Someone, 3,940, that's Tommie just saying that she did this about 3 months ago. At least she admitted it. Someone says, I'm actually kind of speechless, laugh out loud, but good for her. Yes, please bring natural back. Okay, Bougie girl, PO. Shout out the Bougies out there. I don't own no motherfucking word. If you out here using Bougie, okay, just make sure you're the Bougiest. But we're not competing over a fucking word. There's this weirdo girl in Clubhouse, because I think she thinks because we both have Bougie that we're in some weird ass competition. I don't compete with bitches. I just exist. So you can be in competition with yourself over there. Like, and that's just my personality, right? I just believe in showing up and authentically being yourself, and people gonna fuck with it. They're gonna fuck with it. If they're not, that is what it is. But I don't feel the need to try to up one person, and that goes against everything that I believe in. Anywho, Tommie is gorgeous. No one can take that away from her. Exactly. Oh, her honesty is top tier. She's always been really honest. Should have been natural. She's already gorgeous. 2,957 likes. Someone said that Karlie red photo scared her. But she already had got this done, so I don't think that had anything to do with it. Good for her. Too much fillers gives that face that Muppet look after a while. It does, because I'm not going to lie, she was starting to look a little like the poltergeist. Was it a poltergeist mask? I know what I'm talking about, with like the red swirly cheeks, that mask. Yeah, it was starting to look a little weird. Just like Karlie didn't need it. Natural body definitely hit different. Her face was always top tier. Facts. She's so beautiful. I love her either way. Good for her for realizing she's been that girl. Hopefully she can come close to looking like her natural self. But did she really say she deformed her face because she was bored? Girl, you better read a book or something. Remember she said she ain't touch her face? Laugh out loud. Oh. Karlie needs to follow too, because whoo. Yes, because she was already drop dead gorgeous before. Why she still be lying about surgeries? Yeah, because she was starting to look like Karlie Red. Oh, damn. But she still had filters on. She still had filter on. People are crazy, yo. People are no joke. But let's go ahead and see what Karlie talking about. No, this isn't it.
Lip injections. And Tim is always getting on me, like, stop doing the lip injections or whatever, right? So I'm going to stop, because everybody's like, oh, he's talking shit on my face. That's all I got on my face. I got lip injections, and Tim is always getting on me, like, stop doing the lip injections. And I had surgery, but I always make Tim do my makeup with my eyes doing slanted, right? Because he has this technique that he does where he, like, makes my eyes, like, I've not had surgery, but I always never got a nose job. Tim, you're doing my makeup. My nose has always been straight. Look at my daughter's nose. You can tell we come from a family of straight noses. I'm sorry, baby. Never got a nose job. Tim, you're doing my makeup.
All that comes from a family of straight noses. Girl, we wouldn't have to question you if you weren't out here doing some weird ass shit to yourself. I mean, Karlie has also always been very pretty, but like, why? Like, this looks weird. This looks weird. Like, what's the need for this? This is weird. Well, at least she said she's going to stop, and she's acknowledging that this is not the way to go. And, just love yourself and, be confident in who you are. But we've met Karlie, from the very beginning when she was on the Love and Hip Hop soliciting breast implants from the Benzino. That was weird, too. At some point, I think, we have to be really honest. As much as people like Karlie, you really position yourself a lot of time to be out here willing to sell yourself for money in different types of ways, right? I'm not gonna call you a prostitute, but I like I said, there was that Benzino, there's that thing with the woman and the shit in the bed allegedly and all that other stuff, where you really, or even being in a relationship, what's his name, that fraudster, that Mo guy that you were with, like, just go fix yourself and figure yourself out. Like, you shouldn't be so out here for the cheap in general, and just, behaving in such a way at this age, right? She's not a young woman, right? And that's concerning. I think we have to be aware of that. She's not a young woman, right? This is a woman over 45 years old, still struggling with just loving herself the way that she is. Like, let's call a thing a thing. Even with Tommie, at least I think maybe Tommie's maybe just 30, but please figure it out. Like, this is like, young girls are looking at you, clearly looking at you as if though, you're some type of influencer. Figure it the fuck out. That's just it. At this point, like, I'm tired of, like, I'm gonna take the gloves off. Like, figure the fuck out, because it's actually, like, what you've shown us over the years has not been the best type of, like, role model or anybody that anybody should look up to be completely honest. And it's just sad. All right, so here we go. Karlie Redd is addressing comments about her face in a recent live. The Love and Hip Hop star said that lip injections were the only change she made to her face. She denied having a nose job. The lies. Someone wrote, she's been lying so much. Like, exactly. Like, at some point, like, let's be honest, you've been lying. Like, it's just weird. Like, good Lord, Karlie, why did you do this to yourself, sis? Not her getting into the makeup technique. And her cheekbones. Tommie got a mini-me. It just seems like she's scared to age, which I don't know why, because she looks good regardless. Exactly. Girl, them cheekbones giving cat lady. Girl, that face was touched before. For real. Exactly. Girl. What about the face, though? She gonna stop the face injections as well? These people don't be playing. Like, I think we just tired of Karlie and this craziness. You too old for this. Oh my God, girl, who cares? Live your life. And Karlie want to be young so bad. Like, girl, act your age. Yeah, exactly. Like, she literally has like a grown ass adult daughter. I think that maybe even be like 25 or 26 years old. So this is not a young woman. Like, really step up you're insecure. Like, please, you just really is. The lips were the least of all the people's worries, ma'am. So you just realized that you need to stop. She was beautiful initially. Everything injected. Just stop lying already. Like, exactly. Like, we've been around. Like, when you've been around, you can't fool us. It just is what it is. All right, y'all. So that's all I'm going to get into today on this video. But ladies, love yourself. Don't do this bullshit. This is some bullshit. Let me see. Was there anything else with people out here tripping with and doing too much with their fucking face and stuff like that? Oh, this is Karlie Redd. I'll bring this up saying, y'all agree. Karlie Redd says too many people are focused on her new phase and not that she has a #1 record. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this because you gotta stop it, Karlie.
Just went on iTunes, and this lady has been trying to do this for a minute now. No one's posting that. No one's saying that. Like, so all of this is to say that, guys, don't let anyone just deter you or don't let the evil come into your life. Just keep manifesting, keep doing your thing, because I promise you, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But what people say, like, they're talking shit about my face and da-da-da. Like, that's what they not. So I saw somebody say in the comments that say, you posted, you saying all this shit about her face, but no one's talking about the fact that she just went on iTunes.
Okay, Karlie, we're not talking about the fact that you went number one on iTunes just because we have to be completely honest. Like, we don't respect you as an artist, right? Spice went number one on iTunes, and Spice, your very close friend. And there's nothing wrong with your friend looking out for you because you have been trying to do music, right? She featured you in a song that of hers, right, with another, I think it's Fabio. So with that being said, no, we're not talking about it because we're talking about the bullshit that we know you for, and what we know you for is the debauchery and the fuck shit that you do on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and just being extreme, being out here prostituting yourself in some type of form of fashion, allegedly, and all this other stuff. That's what the fuck we're talking about because that's what the fuck you've given us, right? Like, anytime you're on a fucking reality TV show and another woman is talking about how her and her husband was fucking on you and paying you and all types of weirdo shit, and you was shitting in the bed, and getting fucked in your ass. Like, what do you want us to talk about again? Because the last thing, like, I just said was the Gucci, Prada, Fendi, and that weirdo song that you had when you first got on the Love and Hip Hop. Girl, you're trying us. You are really, really trying us, and we're here to say stop the fuck shit. But that's a gorgeous picture of her right here on the top, right here. Y'all see on the screen. That's a gorgeous picture. And that's more of her, like, when she first came out and what her lips really look like in real life. And again, gorgeous woman. But you're not going to hold us accountable and now hold your fucking self accountable for not being about your business. And if your business was music, we don't fucking know that. We know your business has been your pussy. Period, poo. Got me on one right now. People were equally shocked at both. And congrats, Karlie. Neighbors, have y'all listened to the song? And someone wrote, y'all wrong for using the bottom pick. Her new face is pretty. Congratulations, babe. The Karlie talking, the Karlie talking in the big square don't look like the two little squares. These three different people only have one of these have a number one song. So proud of you, sis. And me setting up interviews that go viral. Oh. The bottom picture got me bugging, laughing my ass off. Y'all wrong for the bottom photo. Now, why y'all use that bottom right pic? Equally shocked that both is accurate as fuck. I don't know. I didn't know she had a song. That's good for her. Congratulations. Laughing my ass off. Laugh my fucking ass off. Which came first, though? Exactly. What came first is your fuck behavior. It's a distraction. Laugh out loud. Louis, Prada, Gucci finally took off. Y'all remember that when she was performing that song on Love and Hip Hop? That shit was fun. Neat. This caption, I'm screaming. Congratulations on your number one song, Karlie. It's a dramatic background song for me. Not all post her old pick and new. We gotta be sure on who we talking to. The pic on the bottom right. And then someone says she got too much fillers in her face all over. That's why they focused on it, because y'all can't miss it. But congratulations on your hit single. That is so dope. I mean, at the end of the day, congratulations on your hit single. But, like, let's call a thing a thing. You know why that single's a hit. Spice is who Spice is. And that's dope that she looked out like that. That's really dope. All right, y'all. Y'all know how I do it here. We keep it bougie as F. We keep it posh as F. We keep it black as F. And y'all be black, y'all. And I am out. Mm-hmm.